Live here with the Irish Philip Roundup with me, Roisin Leclerc,
And me, Paul Brophy.
just about to here at the Aontu Dash here of 2026 up here in Port at still call it the Heritage, is it the Midlands?
Midlands Park, Roisin.
Midlands Park, and we're waiting for Peadar Tobin to go live. We're going to just turn off the mics until Peadar Tobin, the leader of the Aontu, gives his leader speech. And so we're just going to turn the camera around and bear with us. And we're going to be waiting for Peadar Tobin's speech here at the Aontu. It's finishing. We did a lot of interviews.
We
today,
did,
Paul.
Roisin, in fairness. My God, you kept them going. It was like a revolving door.
There's my coffee.
So fair play to you.
You had your
deserve
coffee
something
too.
strong.
I bought you coffee, Paul.
You did, in fairness to you. Yeah. No, it was excellent. We got to speak to all the different into reps, the new councillors, their existing councillors, their by-election candidates for Dublin Central and for Dublin. Sorry, and for Galway West, and we also spoke with Peadar Tobin, the leader.
Why don't we turn? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, you're okay.
Why don't we turn the camera around and we can still keep talking?
Yeah.
While this is going, so just turn it around to face the stadium.
There we are.
So there it is, and can we zoom in, Paul? Can we zoom in? We can indeed.
Yeah.
So, as we said, we're learning all this technology as we go, and so that will be a little bit more, Paul.
Yeah.
A little bit more. If it goes, that will be fine. Okay, that's as far as we can go.
Okay.
And we're waiting for. What time is it, Paul?
It is just heading for 25 past 6, Roisin. So Peadar Tobin's leader speech is in around 6:30. So it'll also be broadcast live on TV as well. So.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check that we have sound, Paul.
Yeah.
And that we have. If you listen, anyone is tuned in, can you just give us a thumbs up if you can hear us?
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is into Sixth Ard Fest, Roisin. Of course, the party was founded and registered in 2019, and since then, the party has grown its representation. It now has 2 TDs, 1 senator, and 10 county councillors across the country as well. So, and they're also contesting 2 upcoming by-elections in Galway West and Dublin Central, where we spoke with their 2 candidates, Orla Nugent, who will be representing the party in Galway West. She's a teacher based in Galway. And we also spoke with Ian Noah Smith, who is Aontu's candidate for the Dublin Central by-election, and he spoke a lot about housing because his own background is in the construction sector with building and also as an architect. And we also got to talk to our good friend Councillor Joe Kelly as well,
and he's sitting right in front of us.
Yeah.
He's a regular on there.
That's him.
Joe Kelly, and he's talking to Peadar Tobin there. But there he is there.
Yeah.
And he's a great friend of the Irish Political Roundup.
Yeah.
And you know, at the Waterford Airport.
Brilliant.
I cannot wait for the Waterford Airport.
It's going to be absolutely massive. It's a game changer for the southeast.
Yeah.
But yeah, Roisin, we got to speak to all their county councillors, so it was a very, very good day. And now Deputy Paul Lawless, who's into his other TD in Mayo, is going to address the conference now. Or the Ard Fest, I should say, sorry.
And a lot of the county councillors and new party reps are up there on the stage. Paul. It's been a very good day.
It has indeed. Brilliant, absolutely.
Wise for the Irish
Absolutely
Roundup.
brilliant.
We've got everybody who's county councillor, TD, local area reps here.
Oh yeah, we spoke with Gary O'Neill from Carlow Kilkenny, who did extremely well in the general election there in 2024, getting 3,000 votes, and in the end he outpolled and he outlasted a sitting TD. So like at the time, so it's a good base that he can build from there.
And also the Irish Political Roundup, we tell the Irish political story.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and we we like to think we do it in a non-biased way.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to all the Ardèches this year because I really love the general elections.
Yes.
And the local elections, the European
Yes, because
elections.
I believe Independent Ireland conference or Ardfest, that is next month. Fianna Fáil is in May. Fine Gael is in the autumn. The Social Democrats have had theirs. I
The
think
Green Party.
the Green Party had theirs in Kilkenny. They're
And that's a really
recently.
funny story, Paul, because we were over there doing some brainstorming and planning
Yeah,
and production, and we didn't even know, we always go to the New Park
yeah.
Hotel,
It is
and
it's a lovely
we didn't
hotel.
realise that the Green Party were having their
Yeah,
Ardèche out of their conference, and I think they thought we were spying on them,
yeah, they
and we
did.
were there for the Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's been a very, very good Ardfest, and a lot of motions passed as well, and a lot of interesting motions as well, particularly around Irish. There's ones on unity, on our defence forces. The list goes on and on. Housing, one of the, I suppose, their big motions that was passed was about cutting the VAT on houses, on building of houses. Sorry, I should say, Roisin, which would bring down the cost of housing practically 50,000, which is, every little helps.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's funny because I got the idea from doing YouTube lives from RSBN.
Yeah,
I used to watch it. And here we are doing the exact same. And I said,
There you go.
God, could we do that? And here we are doing the lives,
Exactly.
reporting, and with the RSBN network. Watching that during the 2024 American elections has given
Yes,
us
exactly.
the sort of inspiration to do these YouTube lives at these events.
Yeah, exactly. And the US midterms are happening in November, so that's going to be an interesting fair as to how things are going to go. And of course, our American correspondent Adam Dorito, he's working hard to get that Republican nomination to run in District 8 in Colorado. So,
and he's on military duty at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's hope. We certainly hope he can get on the ticket. And they're just getting everything in place. And because Roisin, this Ardfest is being broadcast.
And here comes Paul Lauder now, and there's a hushing in.
1 minute left. Ten seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Lawless. I'm the Aontu TD for Mayo, and it is fantastic to see you all here in such numbers at the Aontu Ard. In particular, I'd like to welcome our by-election candidates, Orla Nugent, who will contest the Galway West election, and indeed Ian Noel Smith, who will contest in Dublin Central. I'd also like to welcome our new councillors, Councillor Peadar O'Donoghue from County Cork and Councillor Darren Jack Kelly from Swords. What a day this has been here at the Aontu Ard. We have seen some incredible strength and depth and talent from many delegates and representatives here in Aontu. And Aontu is growing, and we are growing faster than any other political party in terms of votes, in terms of the polls, membership, and now elected representatives. And our party continues to grow because we remain committed to justice, to common sense, and to practical solutions. This evening, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our founder and the leader of our political movement, a man who has stood up for justice on many occasions against the prevailing winds of the country, a man who has created a political movement to ensure those who were unrepresented had a voice, a leader that has had such an incredible and an enormous impact in the political debate in this country in terms of the family and care referendum, the cost of living, the immigration debate, and indeed the housing crisis that has crippling so many families. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a privilege to welcome our leader, Deputy Peadar Tobin.
Míle buíochas dús de Pálálas as an fáiltiú jazz sin, agus míle buíochas díobse a chuir de géal as teachtain seo aniu le haigh an ócáid speisialta seo. Fáilte go dtí an séú ordeis Aontu. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the social contract in this country. When we were young in school, our teachers used to tell us that if we worked hard, that if we did well, we would be able to raise a family and have a good job. If you get a good job, you get a decent day's pay. You'll get a decent week's wages, and you'll be able to put a roof over your family's heads. Now, that simple promise has been the basic social contract for this society for generations. So, what has happened in the last while? Nothing complex in relation to this objective, fair and reasonable objective. Ach ní mar sin is tá sé inis. For hundreds of thousands of families, that social contract has been destroyed. Today, hard-working families cannot afford to buy a house. Hundreds of thousands of young people are working all the hours that God gives them. They're enduring long commutes, and they still end up shut out of owning a home for their family. This government's policies have actually created a middle-income trap where some families are too wealthy for social housing, but too poor to survive the market rents. Now, incredibly, working families are amongst the 17,000 people who are homeless in this country. And they are watching their children miss very simple developmental goals. Things like learning how to crawl and walk. They can't do that because there isn't enough space in their forever hotel rooms. Some people are forced now to kettle cook. That is, they're forced to be able to cook pot noodles from a kettle on the floor of their homeless hub for the want of basic cooking facilities. Believe it or not, there's the equivalent of 200 classrooms of children who today are living like refugees in homeless hubs across this country, unable to get a house to live in. So what's the solution of this government? Last Sunday, believe it or not, this government introduced a law with the expressed objective of actually raising rents in this country. That social contract is so broken at the moment that it's actually changing the very fabric of our society currently. In 2009, there were 75,000 children born in this country. Last year, it was 55,000. Young couples are losing their confidence even to be able to raise a family in this country. It's plunging birth rates. In relation to some schools are being forced to close. We've seen amalgamations as a result of that. And if it continues, it will radically increase pensions and healthcare costs for the very generation who can't afford rents in this country today. And that problem, the housing crisis that we've heard about so much for the last 10 years, it is fixable. Aontu and government will remove the barriers to owning your own home. And the first barrier that this government is responsible for is red tape and bureaucracy. Tá muirláthas ag curbach agus muil ag gach rud sa tíre. Ireland is one of the slowest countries at the moment in terms of planning, permitting, licensing, procurement, tendering, and judicial reviews. The government's red tape is blocking the building of houses in this country, and not just houses, really important other infrastructure as well. Dozens of communities we've seen over the last number of months are living with the real threats of someone losing their lives as a result of flooding. Communities are waiting 20 and 30 years for flood defences to be built. It's also the cause that the National Children's Hospital is closed today and that it has ballooned to 2.25 billion euros. And incredibly, Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill stated this week that the opening date of the National Children's Hospital is in the hands of BAM. What are we paying 210,000 euros to a minister for when she's admitting that she has absolutely no control of the biggest capital project in this country? Tá aspa inúlach ag déanamh annachcuid the máiste don tír seo. Aontu and governments will make sure that there's proper staff in planning authorities across the country, and we will significantly reduce the red tape that's tying our country up in knots. Another key barrier to housing is viability. Believe it or not, many builders are not actually building in Ireland at the moment. Construction companies in Ireland are actually sending their staff away to build abroad. Sending construction workers abroad in a housing crisis is akin to sending food away in a famine. Aontu and governments, we will make sure that we make house building viable. We will reduce VAT on the building of homes. VAT and government duties, believe it or not, are now costing 50,000 euros per house in this country. So a government that is squirreling away 10 billion euros last year in budget surpluses is charging young couples 50 grand in VAT on an annual basis on a house. That is absolutely wrong, and we will make sure that it changes. Aontu is a pluralist Republican party. We believe that as a country, we should do our best to help those who are fleeing war and violence. We believe that a person's colour is of no more significance than the colour of their eyes. However, government policy in terms of immigration has been disastrous. They've refused to work with communities. They don't know how people are coming into the country, and they can't tell if people are leaving the country after a deportation order because there's no exit checks at the airports. Now, Tón looked Erin Rialtas, Devor, and Garchan Tahilta. This government is to blame for the housing crisis. This government is increasing the population of this country by just under 100,000 people every year. If you increase the population by the size of Galway City, without providing the infrastructure of Galway, the hospital, the universities, the dozens of schools, the tens of thousands of homes, you are going to make it harder for people to access resources. If you raise the demand for housing while supply remains restricted, you will increase the price of the house, the rent on that house, and you will decrease availability. This is basic leaving cert economics, and yet our government simply doesn't understand it. We in Aontu, when we're in government, we will implement a stricter immigration system. We will help those who need help, but we will process those who don't in a speedy fashion, and we will return them home. And Aontu in government as well will deliver an Irish sea border to control the movement of people from Britain to Ireland. Now, in Seachtain Seo, Chonacamur, Justus Brosla Egairi, this week saw the start of the increase in fuel prices. Filling a tank with petrol is now costing about €100. 65 euros of that 100 are actually government taxes. And these taxes are not progressive taxes. They hurt those who are on low incomes the most. They also hurt rural and regional Ireland the most. Incredibly, in 2024, this government took 4.1 billion euros out of your pockets in fuel taxes. At the peak of the cost of living crisis, the government took more in fuel taxes than ever before. In 2024, carbon taxes reached 1 billion euros. It's now the largest tax on fuels in Ireland. And according to government plans, it will increase every single year till 2030, irrespective of the economic circumstances of the people. Now, it's estimated that if the war in Iran continues, it could send filling a tank of petrol up to 150 euros. It could send filling a tank of home heating oil up to 2,000 euros. These are eye-watering figures for most families. Now, right now, there are 300,000 families in energy arrears in this country. That's 300,000 people who simply cannot afford a staple of life in this country. And what's the government's response? Amid the spiking fuel costs, this government's plan is actually to hike up carbon taxes in 6 weeks' time. The government is talking about price gouging companies. This government is carbon tax gouging the people who can't afford energy. Aontu in government will end the carbon tax increases, and we will reduce carbon taxes at a time of price surges. Now, the cost of living crisis doesn't stop at the border. It doesn't recognise partition. And Sinn Féin are demanding a cost of living package in the Dáil, while at the same time refusing one in the north of Ireland. Incredibly, the Sinn Féin Minister for Finance in the north is proposing a rates increase on a regional basis of 15% over the next 3 years. That is wrong. Aontu and Stormont will do our best to stop it. Now, I will say this, drivers are not just being price gouged at the pumps, they're also being fleeced at the tolls as well. And the M50 bridges, I believe, is a monument to government mismanagement. The government has collected 2.2 billion euros on M50 tolls since 2008. In 2024, they collected 212 million euros on those tolls. The government is treating the M50 like a cash cow, and they're milking it for all they can. It's a tax on work, it's a tax on commuters, it's a tax on the people who get up early in the morning. Aontu in government will scrap the M50 toll. Now, farmers in this country believed for a long time that they had a special contract with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. Tá seachtamol, umlán, sin, squista and nish. Farmers produce food at the very highest regulatory level in this country. They undergo rigorous Board BIA audits to be able to sell their food as origin green. Yet this government has appointed a CEO to on Board BIA that imports Brazilian beef to Ireland that would fail that Board BIA audit. Aontu in government will not allow low quality foreign food to masquerade as Irish food, undercutting Irish farmers' incomes and reputations. And I will say this as well. Farmers, do not ever let Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael take your vote for granted again. Now, after the first Nice Treaty was rejected by the people of Ireland, the government obviously ignored the democratic will and decided to put that referendum to the people again. Now, to make sure that they passed it on that occasion, the government constructed the triple lock. Every home in the country received a document outlining that the triple lock would actually protect Irish neutrality and that it would be put in place if the referendum passed. Fast forward 20 years later, and the government are looking to bin the triple lock without any democratic say of the people. Now, the triple lock in practice prevents Ireland from being aligned to any military bloc. And the triple lock, I believe, is being binned by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael because they want to push Ireland into an emerging EU defence union. Now, this is important. Ireland has a proud history of neutrality. We have a record because of our own peace process, because of the missionaries that went to the countries abroad, because of our UN peacekeeping abroad as well. It's an internationally recognised reputation as an honest broker. Now, of course, if we want to be neutral, we have to defend ourselves. And in a few weeks' time, this country is going to take over the presidency of the European Union Council. And our defence forces have been so degraded that there are serious concerns about our ability to protect visiting leaders. The Irish government do not have adequate drone defences. They lack comprehensive military radar and can only operate 2 out of 8 Navy ships. The numbers of the Irish Defence Forces are at an historic low, hovering about 2,000 staff below where it should be. And many people, again, cynical may be, believe that the government allowed for our defence forces to be degraded to strengthen their ambition of participating in a European Defence Union. Aontu in government will build up our defence forces. We will use Ireland's record as a catalyst for peace around the world. Shasi Aontu, the High Nodricus on Tier Show. Now, one of the first responsibilities of any government is to keep people safe in their communities. But shockingly, over the last 6 years, rank and file Garda numbers have fallen to the lowest per capita levels. Now, one of the most tragic elements of this is the fall in Garda traffic numbers. Mia Lily Kyo O'Keefe was a 16-year-old girl who was going about her daily life on a Saturday in February. She was killed at a pedestrian crossing. In 2009, the year that Mia Lily was born, there were 1,046 Gardaí assigned to policing our roads. This year, the year that Mia Lily died, there were 618 Gardaí policing our roads. Non-enforcement of the law is changing driver behaviour for the worse, and it needs to stop. In January, another 16-year-old girl, Grace Lynch, was killed after she was struck by a scrambler in Finglas. Now, the government actually had the power since 2023 to put a ban on scramblers, but they didn't until after the death of Grace Lynch. Today, the Garda Representative Association state that they are neither trained sufficiently to pursue scramblers or have the legal protection to do so. That is an absolutely shocking thing for the government to do at this late stage. Now, Aontu in government will employ more Gardaí by providing internationally competitive pay terms and conditions. We will introduce minimal custodian sentences for serious crimes. We will build extra prison spaces, and we will end the revolving door practice that sees criminals leave without ever seeing jail. But we'll also invest in communities so that they have facilities that they need. We'll also provide for drug rehabilitation centres for youth, and we'll make sure that the necessary mental health services are provided as well. Now, Aontu, as you'll probably know at this stage, is the Irish for Unity. Aontu is a practical United Ireland party with membership across the 32 counties of this country. Now, we are at a once-in-a-century alignment of factors that means that this country is in touching distance of unity. Think about that for a second. Dozens of generations of Irish people have struggled so long to achieve independence and freedom, and yet our generation is in touching distance of that opportunity. We believe that the border is like a wall with 1,000 blocks. Each block stands for an obstruction to cooperation. Our health service, our transport service, our education system, even immigration would work far better if we removed those obstructions. So we need to start to plan together, fund together, and deliver services on an All-Ireland basis now. We in Aontu have tabled bills to allow for Northern citizens vote in presidential elections. We've tabled bills to allow for Northern MPs to speak in the Dáil. And in government, we will create a new Ireland Forum, which will allow for all the political parties and civic societies to work together for that sunny day. And we will also provide a pathway to a referendum. This is a really important step that's within our grasp. Now, 6 months ago, Aontu called for the resignation of Simon Harris. We did so because of his failure to implement the promises that he made to children with scoliosis in this country, and because of the heartbreaking death of Harvey Sharrett Morrison. It takes enormous trust for any parent to leave a sick or ill child with the health service. And for so many parents, that trust is absolutely shattered at the moment. Think about this. In the last 5 years, according to an Aontu parliamentary question, 126 individuals have been damaged up to permanent incapacity or death at CHI. 752 others have been damaged needing health or medical treatment. And there's been 6,900 dangerous system failures in CHI at the time. Aontu and government will introduce real accountability into the health service. There will be a cost for people who do not do their jobs properly or who damage patients in the HSE in future. But also, transformatively, we will start to fund the health service on the basis of the operations, treatments, and consultations it delivers, ensuring that the money gets to the front line and does not get lost in layers of administration. Na gá bhliain ó shin, bhuaimar an referendum tailí agus cuireann. Remember, and for those who haven't got their cards yet, next week is Mother's Day, okay? And 2 years ago, if you haven't forgot, the government tried to delete the word mother from the Constitution. This government spent 21 million euros of your hard-earned tax money on peak virtue signalling at the time. Aontu was the only party in the Dáil to oppose those referendums. And those referendums have turned into a watershed clinic. Leo Varadkar had to resign, and Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin have been flip-flopping on every issue since. So, Aontu is the only party that opposes the hate speech bill. Now, let me be clear about this. We hate hate speech. But this was a censorship bill designed to create a chilling effect on free speech. And free speech is a fundamental function of democracy. Aontu believes for a proper democracy to function, you need to have the competition of ideas. When ideas compete, the best ideas percolate to the top and become policy. When speech is censored, it creates for dangerous swings in political ideology. Aontu is the only party in the Dáil that opposes gender ideology. We're the only party in the Dáil that can say that a woman is a female adult and that a man can't get pregnant. We have entered a time where the emperor has no clothes, and Aontu is the only party calling it out. We created a bill which seeks to repeal the most damaging aspects of the Gender Recognition Act. We were the only party that sought a full, proper statutory inquiry into the devastating mistakes that were made during COVID. So many people lost their lives, the government didn't do their job, and people haven't had justice as of yet. During the presidential election, we tried to get Maria Steen nominated. We warned the political establishment that if you narrowed the ballot in that particular election, it would create an enormous democratic deficit in that election. And so it transpired. 13% of the population spoiled their vote. It was the biggest spoiled vote in the history of the state, the biggest spoiled votes in the European Union. And what was the response to the political establishment? Tumbleweed. Absolutely no response. Aontu submitted a bill to the Dáil to lower the nomination threshold in future elections so that we don't have sections of society disenfranchised in the future. Tá Aontu ag obair san freagracht den láithas sa tír seo. It has been Aontu, to be honest, that has tried to inject a culture of accountability into the political system. When this government has been incinerating your taxpayers' money on the likes of the Gucci bicycle shed and the National Children's Hospital, it was Aontu that did the research, and it was Aontu that pulled them up on it. When people to for-profits tried to re-enter a bill that would have allowed for abortion up until birth, only Aontu called the vote on that, and we won that vote. So, people in Ireland who work hard can't get a home. They can't afford rent. They're getting fleeced when it comes to energy costs, and they wait decades for infrastructure. The social contract has been destroyed by this government. We believe that the proclamation of the Irish Republic is the mission statement of this party. The proclamation was published 110 years ago this year. It is the blueprint for the social contract that we should have. The rights of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland. Equal opportunities to all its citizens. And cherishing all the children of the nation equally. Now, the challenges that I have discussed tonight may feel like intractable problems. They're not. Do not let them paralyze us. The authors of the proclamation faced far more difficult challenges, and they drove on to action. And the proclamation of the Republic wasn't just written with a pen. It was written into the history of this country by the activism of those men and women. And also, hardwired into the proclamation was collective responsibility. We all live under the same sky. We are all responsible for this country and your political future. Your political future is not a spectator sport. It demands participation. If you want a government for you, you have to make it happen as well. The history of this country for the next 20 years will be written by those who show up, organize, and get active. Aontu commits to an Ireland free, united, where working families can put a roof over their families' heads, and they can live safe, healthy, well, and where common sense finally has a sway. Join us today. Help us build the Ireland of the proclamation. Míle buíochas go léir.
And yes, that is the conclusion of Peadar Tobin's speech to the delegates here at the Aontu Ard Fheis here for 2026, where we covered a wide range of topics. Rosie's just adjusting the camera. So you hear that Aaron Naveen.
And Paul, that concludes the
Yeah,
Aontu
Aontu Ard
Ard
Fheis for 2026 has been concluded, Roisin.
Yeah.
So, what do you make of the speech? I covered a lot of topics from housing to immigration to the referendum that happened in 2024. You know, a lot of ground covered.
Well, that is the end of the dash. I'm going to move the camera over.
Here.
Make sure that
Oh, my love. Oh, I'm in the way. Apologies.
and leaving the room. And that is the 2026 into Ardèche here in Fheis in the heart of Ireland. Fheis in the heart of Ireland.
Yeah, smack bang in the middle of Ireland.
And there is our very good friend. How are you, Joe? What did you think of the Ardèche? We'll get you in front of the camera, will we?
Yeah.
Paul, do you want to go?
I go in front, yeah. Give you back to that. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm now joined by Waterford Independent Councillor Joe Kelly. Joe, you were here as an observer. You would know Peadar Tobin very well from your previous days in Sinn Féin. How did you think his speech went, and is there anything that stuck out for you?
I think it was excellent, really. It was full of passion, as you'd expect from Peadar. But I think he called out really big issues that's affecting the country, that the government, the present government, and indeed past governments haven't dealt with. Notably, the housing crisis. I would call it the housing disaster.
Yes.
And the idea of taking the VAT off of, say, the building cost at 13.5%, I think is a very good and novel idea. He spoke about immigration policy and that we need to be a country that helps people who genuinely need it, but we need to introduce a system that very quickly screens out people who perhaps don't need that assistance and send them back home, and just make the whole system fairer. I think those were some of the key points for me in what he said.
And the infrastructure has to marry up as well, because he did say like every year 100,000 people are entering the country, which is like you're adding another Galway city.
Yes.
Well, of course, to the country. Yeah. So if you don't have the schools, the hospitals,
that's the same
to
everywhere.
match that, it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. And if you don't do that, that's exactly right. I mean, you can follow. That's why we have a census to plan for the future.
Yes.
So right. You can plan on how the population is growing and where it's growing, the demographics of it, and so on. But again, successive governments in Ireland of every hue have ignored CSO data and not planned appropriately for that. So when Peadar spoke about 100,000 every year, that's a massive draw on a country the size of Ireland. And certainly you have to plan for that. You can't just let it grow to the point where everything explodes and then you have panic reactions. If we manage properly and plan properly, then we can certainly accommodate 100,000, I believe, every year. But we need to plan for that rather than emergency measures for everything.
And you see that in Waterford City, where you're from, which is one of the fastest growing cities in the country.
Absolutely.
You need those supports to develop that infrastructure.
And that's exactly it. Like we as a local authority, we're trying to build whatever houses we can. Not very many under the present system, but we're doing our best. You have the Part 5 section of the Planning Act that gives you a certain percentage of private builds. We take all of those houses. We never take money. And we have the various road infrastructures. And people in Waterford will know of the traffic chaos at busy times in the city. We're trying to work our way as a council through all of that. But all of that takes planning, and it takes money.
Yes.
I was at a conference of the regions only last week in Donegal. And the European speakers pointed out that none of these plans can work unless there's sufficient funds put behind them. So you have to have the money to back up the plans. Otherwise, the plans remain simply plans. So we have to resource the plans properly. We have to have the plans based on reality first and foremost, and then we have to sufficiently resource those plans to deliver them. And these are the kind of things that Peadar and Aontu are doing.
Sorry.
From what I can find out anyway from tonight and from today's events, they seem to be clued in to that kind of thinking, which I think is very progressive thinking, but also very simple and understanding at the basic level.
Because other Deputy Tobin brought up, Ireland is very, very slow when it comes to planning, procurement, judicial reviews. We are very, very slow, and that's impacting our ability not just to build houses, but the important infrastructure.
A perfect example came up at last week's conference, Paul, in Donegal, again from our European colleagues. And in Spain, one of the speakers from the region, one of the regions of Spain, he said that they built the road, they designed the road and had the planning through in 9 weeks.
9 weeks.
They then built the entire road of 5 kilometres or thereabouts. The entire project, start to finish, was open with traffic in 3 years. Now, from an Irish perspective, one of the speakers pointed out that the average large-scale project in Ireland takes 15 years.
15 years.
The Spanish had it done in 3. And they were amazed that we're so slow. And our delegates were amazed that they were so fast. And they said that they simply cut to the chase. They do proper consultations, but they don't have endless judicial reviews and so on over there. And proper environmental assessments have to be taken as well in Spain, but they do it much, much faster than us. For some reason, everything in Ireland is at a snail's pace.
That's incredible. We're taking nearly five times the amount of time to do the exact
Now, I don't know the
job.
exact circumstances of that road. It was a major road, he said, so it wasn't some Mickey Mouse backwater thing. But I don't know the full extent of it. But nonetheless, 3 years is amazing. We'd have 3 years just trying to plan something.
Yes.
They had it done in 9 months.
Wow, that is amazing.
That's the difference between how European colleagues do things and how Ireland seems to not be able to do things.
Yeah.
And is it any wonder then that we have the National Children's Hospital costing well in excess of 2 billion?
Yes.
And, as Peadar Tobin said, the Gucci bike shed costing outrageous money. We have endless amount of money to waste, but we never seem to have enough money for the people who need it. Exactly. And I think that's a shame as well.
Look how long Waterford was waiting for an airport.
Absolutely.
And had an American investor not come along, you'd be waiting even longer.
It was private investment of 35 million euros. That's now in an SQ bank account that is progressing the Waterford Regional Airport, not the government at all. And it was the city council, county council now since 2014, city and county council, that put our money and shoulders to the wheel, that kept that going and on life support until we got to this stage. So the government and our policies hold things back needlessly, in my view, when private investment can come in, see a good deal when they know it, or know a good deal when they see it, and get on with it.
And the last question, Joe,
We're
competing with the PA.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's a busy hall.
It is a busy hall. My last question for you. You're an independent councillor.
Yes.
You work with parties like Aontu and other parties. How important is it for you as an independent to be able to work with different parties?
Well, I think it's vital because nobody can run Ireland by themselves, and no one has all the answers by themselves either. It's the cross-pollination of ideas, and it's also sharing of ideas and debating them out openly, and coming up with the best ideas. So the best ideas percolate to the top. Yeah. So I think it's vital for independent councillors like me and others across the country to link in with the other parties, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, Social Democrats, People Before Profit, and see what they're doing and what they have to say, and support what I would consider appropriate or progressive measures, and not support other measures if we
Yes.
don't agree with them. And I think that's the balance that has to be struck. But I think the final message I'd say to yourself and your audience is this: is that no one person or no one group has all the answers,
Yeah.
but working together we have the answers.
Yeah, there's no monopoly on what's the right thing to do. Our Councillor Joe Kelly, thank you so much
You're
for
very
taking the time to
welcome,
chat to
Paul.
us here.
And thank you very much.
On the Irish.
And thanks to Roisin as well.
And of course, we thank you to my colleague Roisin, who's there in the background as well. Roisin might pop in.
And that is a wrap. Do you know what? It's always a pleasure to see you, Joe, and especially to see you up here.
Yeah.
When you said hello, Roche, I looked at you twice.
Yeah.
Councillor Joe Kelly.
Yes.
But it's a pleasure to have you on, as always.
I'm delighted.
Talk to Joe.
As you said, we
Talk to Joe.
an accidental meeting.
Yeah.
Just happened to be in the same place.
Yeah.
But it was lovely to meet you and have a chat the way we've had it. And it's been an interesting day for everybody.
And you know what? We're all saying up the Waterford Airport. We can't wait till the Waterford Airport is up and running. And we'll be saying, Councillor Joe Kelly, come fly with me.
And why not? Thanks very much,
Thank you
Roisin.
so much indeed,
Good night and God
Councillor Joe
bless.
Kelly from Waterford. God bless.
Thank you, Joe.
And
Sorry, Roisin.
And that is a wrap here from the Irish Political Roundup at the Aontu Ard here in Portlaoise. Until our next YouTube live, and we'll also be going up to the other Ardèches as well. Until next time, bye-bye. We'll move out of the way and we'll let the audience see how everybody is all clearing up.
Thanks.